Hello everyone, and welcome to my Duraflex body kit review, or first impressions really. Wanted to go through, sort of my first thoughts, some of the pros and cons, and generally, is it worth it? Duraflex or Extreme Dimensions, definitely known as the cheaper option when it comes to body kits. So I'm going to be looking kind of as a whole, not so much with my specific kit. Let's start, I'll just show you some of the pieces and talk a little bit about, packaging and the finish and all that stuff. So the kit I got is the 16-piece Mercedes 190E evo2 kit. It's meant to be a replica of the original evo2. It's all fiberglass. It's like a fiberglass plastic mix, as with all of the Duraflex stuff. Basically, we have some bumpers, side skirts, door panels, and a spoiler. One weird thing, it actually came with 17 pieces, one extra one. I'm not really sure what the deal is with it. I'll show you that in a second here. It showed up on a full-size semi-truck. I'm lucky enough to live kind of out in the country where it's easy for a semi to just kind of pull over. But if you live somewhere more urban or in a tight neighborhood or something, you may want to take that into consideration and potentially ought to have it shipped somewhere other than your actual home. One thing I was really surprised about is that it showed up all in one big box. I definitely expected multiple smaller boxes, for packaging the pieces to be as protected as possible. So I'm not sure that's the best thing ever, because they're able to kind of, rub against each other in shipping. But they were wrapped very well with lots of plastic and, those little inflatable like bags that they put in a lot of those boxes. There wasn't too much damage that showed up on the parts. I know that's a big concern, and they always say you should check everything as soon as it shows up, because if something needs to be replaced, you need to take care of it right away. I didn't feel that any of the damage was really worth going through the hassle of kind of shipping things and, going through the whole process of getting something replaced. With that said, it did take, I don't know, probably almost 2 months, I think, from the time I placed the order until it showed up. It's partially due to my specific kit not being readily available. And also, just to throw it out there, I spent, for the kit itself, it ended up being about $1,200. Shipping was an additional $200. Got it from, I believe it was bodykits.com. A lot of sites all kind of have, they'll sell the same thing, probably coming from the same place. Only reason I picked that site is because I found a coupon code online to get 5% off. So yeah, let's get into the actual pieces. Okay, so first up we have the spoiler for the rear of the car. Probably the most exciting piece, or one of them. It looks pretty much as, to spec as it should. This particular piece, there's definitely some big pros and cons. One of the pros is that it's going to be simple to mount. Basically, it sits onto the trunk lid. It comes actually with hardware. It's the only piece that did. I'm not sure that I'll use that actual hardware. And it also fits onto the car fairly nicely. Better than some of the other pieces that I'll show you. This piece probably has the most substantial damage to it. Being right here in this corner, you can see where it's split. I've tried not to really mess with it too much yet. I'm gonna try to kind of seal over that, fix that up a bit. But yeah, that corner is definitely the worst of all of them. But yeah, and then the other big con really with this is if you look, like, the surface finish is not great. But looking down the back line here, you can clearly see that is not at all straight. I mean, there's definitely gonna have to be sanded in a lot of spots. You can kind of see that it's got some uneven kind of finish to it. But, something like this is gonna require a decent amount of work to straighten that line out. Another good angle, kind of how the finish looks on that. But overall, not terrible on the spoiler. Also, I'm not really doing these in any super particular order, kind of just how I'm picking them up out of my little pile in my cramped garage here. So next we have an interesting piece. This is the 17th piece of the 16-piece kit. Just for some size reference, I guess. I'm really not certain what the deal is with this. It was packaged in along with one of the spoiler pieces. It's literally just a single like sheet here, which is all exposed fibers on the bottom. Yeah, not sure what the deal is there. Okay, so the actual second piece of the spoiler here, it is, I guess, the deck lid spoiler, which would go kind of sit down in the center of the spoiler, but hanging off the back corner of the trunk lid. This piece is pretty nice. It's solid. This is the other one that came with hardware, actually. Again, should be pretty easy to install. This one has a bit better finish than the whole wing, but yeah. Okay, next up we have a piece that is probably one of the most unique to the evo2 kit in particular, which is the over fenders or flares, however you want to say it. But I have one right here, and I can actually show you on the car too. This is the piece. Excuse the tape. That was, me doing some mock-ups right here. This is the front left. But you can see down here in the bottom, there are some chunks of presumably solid material that are meant to hook into the skirt that'll be right about there. Come up around, similar finish quality. But the interesting part is the back. Also worth noting that this thing is heavy. It is solid. Like, there's a lot of very thick material in here. This piece, along with the matching kind of like rear, are the only pieces that kind of have this setup where they have big solid chunks, for mounting hardware. Now it is interesting because I guess you have to decide on your own, what kind of hardware to use. I'm just gonna assume that this is all solid material. But yeah. Now here's where this part gets not so good. It appears to me that it is a bit warped. And it's the same with the other side. So if I hold it up on the car, let's see, more or less where it goes, right? You get the back end of it looks nice. That'll meet up with the skirts and all that. Come over, and you definitely have some gaps here, which could be mended perhaps. But right here is where the problem is. Basically what I think, even if you were to take that material out, this piece should be kind of turned in more, such that like this corner is out a bit. I'm really not certain what I'm gonna do there. Probably gonna end up being a good bit of body filler to kind of try to make it work. It is exactly the same on the other side. So yeah, this is probably the one piece I'm the most concerned about getting to look right, and at least to start with. Now, I don't want to make this video too long and kind of repetitive, so I'm not going to show every piece, kind of just the ones that convey a point. So what I want to show you right now are the door panels or covers. These things, they're very simple. They're very thin. As you can see, the back is just exposed fiber. One thing I am kind of happy with, though, is the finish on these is actually pretty uniform across the front of it, at least. So, without too awful much work, these could look very nice. So this, for example, is the rear driver's side, which will sit up on here about like this. Overlaps kind of where the trim is there, back there. The dimensions and stuff are pretty close, with a little bit of kind of cutting and calling things close enough. We should be all right. All right, here we have another pretty interesting piece, I think. This goes on the rear door, right about here, and it bridges, it kind of, combines the rear fender flare into the side skirt door covers. The interesting thing about this piece, though, is that it's a simple piece, but it is incredibly thick. I think through the center there, maybe half an inch of material. And it just has this one sort of boss. Maybe you could do one on the end there as well. But yeah. All right, now we'll take a look at the bumper, or bumper cover, as I think they call it. This piece I think is actually pretty nicely made. This one again is just very thin, fairly flexible, exposed fiber. You can see where I already did a little bit of cutting to kind of try to get some things to clear while I was mocking it up. It's not bad, I'll say that at least. Again, finish will need a little bit of work. Let's see if we look at some of the details here though. We have these kind of fins. I have some concerns. I mean, you can see already there's a small chip right there. But it is quite thin right here. So I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, it's not too bad. I need to figure out whether I'm going to mount it directly to the frame of the bumper or try to use it as a bumper cover. The rear bumper, kind of the same story. It's less intricate. Fits fairly well. It's also a bit thicker than this one. But yeah, I mean, really not a ton to say about the bumpers. Once I start to mock it up, we'll see, how well everything's going to fit. But, for now, getting a good idea. Let's see, the last thing I want to show, I think, is one of the side skirts. I'm going to do a quick summary here. So, taking a look at, I think this is the passenger side skirt. I'm actually pretty pleased with these for a couple of reasons. Now, they're not super hefty. They're, again, one layer, and they're quite flexible. But I actually kind of like that this piece of all of them is a little flexible, because being on a pretty low car and where you're getting in and out, they're likely to get banged into a little bit. It comes with these little tabs. This one actually mounts up with an existing hole in the car. That's probably the only piece in the whole car that does that. So I just need to put a hole there. And they sit kind of nicely into the trim under the door right here. So yeah, and nice and flat on the bottom. We'll see how they hold up. And then here you can see there's additional thickness added for other hardware mounting and stuff. So I do like those pieces. Back to the original point of the video. Is the Duraflex kit worth it compared to some of the more name brand nicer kits that could cost you $3,000 to $5,000? I think there's a couple things to kind of keep in mind. Even without having done a lot of fitting, I can already tell there's going to be a lot of work with body filler, sanding, and getting gaps to kind of look right. May even have to add, some of my own fiberglass or whatever. Definitely going to be a lot of work. As far as the quality goes, it's about what I expected, from what I've seen. Certain parts definitely bum me out, especially, the kind of the unevenness of that rear spoiler and, the warping on that one fender. Another probably negative thing is that it doesn't seem that Duraflex has put a lot of thought into the mounting methods and how things are going to be attached to the vehicle, with the exception of that side skirt. That one was pretty good, but then you have things like this door panel that are very thin. And I mean, if you're okay with having lots of rivets exposed, then sure, just run a rivet through the door. At the same time, then you're making all sorts of new holes in the door. Ideally, it would do a little better job of tying into existing, trim mounting spots and things like that. So yeah, between that and then where it's, big chunks of fiberglass, you got to figure out what type of screws and everything you're going to use. Going to be a lot of kind of gaps and things that don't quite fit right. You're going to need either some sort of a seam filler or body filler. And of course, plenty of sanding if you're going to paint it afterwards. And so it's definitely a lot of work and a lot of things that you're going to have to figure out kind of on your own as you go. But for me, at least, I'm going to say I think it is worth it. It's an ongoing project car for me anyways. and saved quite a bit of money doing this. So yeah, I'm about to make my next video right after this with actually starting some of the install. Unfortunately, I'm constrained to my tiny garage here because of the weather. Going to start getting that stuff installed. So if you want to see more on this body kit or on my 1984 190E here, be sure to subscribe. Got lots of other stuff doing to the car as well. So thanks for watching, and catch you later.